we are
Heart full, mind heavy,
North
and south.
Unfiltered.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Heartful Mind Heavy on episode 5. And we are really, really excited to have another guest with us. We're doing really well on the guest front. And we have got the amazing Jessie Laute with us. Hello, Jessie.
Hi, Jessie.
Hello, loves. I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm really, really excited for today.
So we had Laura on last week, and Laura's kind of the central pin to us all knowing each other.
Yeah.
She's responsible for a lot of things, that Laura Brunton.
She is.
So we first met at one of Laura's events,
That's right.
and you and I got thrown in right at the deep end, if I remember rightly, and did our little singing
I
as a trio
know.
with
I
Pascala.
loved it.
So that's kind of our first introduction. And was that the same time that you met Jessie as well at that session?
It might have been. Did I meet you at what was the ladies' club in Mayfair called? You were at that event now?
Yes, I was there as well, Alex. I
That
think
was
we may
before
have
that.
met at that one. Yeah.
Oh,
What was it called?
oh, the Vibrant. Oh, were you? Oh,
With Mel Schilling and
Oh,
Siobhan.
Yes,
We met
that's where we
there.
first met. That's right,
Yeah.
Alex. I remember now. But you'd organised the event, I think, where we met at Debbie, where we met. I think you'd found that incredible venue for us, Alex.
Yeah, the singing one where this called
Yeah.
the singing one.
Yeah.
Sisters doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
That was at Garden Rooftop in London, one of my old venues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good event as well. Do you remember how hot it was? The sun was like streaming through the
Yeah.
glass, wasn't it?
Yeah. And if I'm right, if I'm remembering, because a little menopause brain is a little bit slow these days, you did actually do a breath session at that event.
Did.
I did. Yes.
Which was amazing. And then I think you and I have kind of bumped into each other probably at a couple of Laura's events following that. And then you were also at Pascala's speaking event, and you got up on stage and did that as well. So
God, you girls are everywhere.
No, we did.
I love it. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, great networking. But I've always loved like the breathwork sessions that you've done, because it really does just help. However that is, whether it's chilling out, or even if it's trying to energize, they were always really good. So when we did the podcast and we decided we wanted to get into guests, we were like thinking of a list of people who we're going to have. And you were straight up there on that list of like,
Yeah.
we need to get you on. We need to introduce this to more people. And I think certainly for you and I, not only is it important sort of like in the business side of it, but I know you do a lot of stuff which hopefully we're going to talk about with the schools and the school breath work, which for me with Emily and her anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
you with, your children and loads of people out there, it would be really good to kind of introduce that into their world as well, in the hopes that it can help. And I will be honest, we'll talk about it later, but I've started bringing it into my dance classes.
Amazing.
That's great.
Jessie, will you just take us through, like, where did you start? What was Jessie before?
Yeah, let's go back.
Yeah.
Back. Are you ready? Excuse me, I will just apologise. I've got a bit of a cold at the moment if that comes out during the session.
'Tis the
But-
season, don't worry.
Excuse me. So it was actually, funny enough, 10 years ago this month that I made a life change. So my background, I used to work in corporate. So I was working in recruitment and HR, and I used to do that over in Australia and the UK. And I'd got to the point where the role I was in was getting bigger and bigger. So was the stress and the pressure of the job. But I didn't have the tools to cope with it. So I was really feeling the effects of the stress of my work, and I didn't have a healthy outlet. So my coping mechanisms were not sleeping because I was in bed sending emails on my BlackBerry at midnight, and drinking too much, or sacrifice my exercise, sacrifice my relationships. I didn't have tools to cope with the stress. So it got to the point, unfortunately, where I hit burnout and I physically couldn't cope anymore. So I was like, something has to change. And I left that corporate job 10 years ago. And I thought, right, what am I going to do? Because I need some time and I don't just want to go into another corporate job. So I decided to take a bit of a time out and the beauty of the job I was in was it afforded me to do that. And I decided to move to Brazil. And I did
Oh,
that.
I
And
didn't do that in my time out. I sat on the sofa and started this podcast with this one.
which is also incredible because look at where we are now, right?
Yeah.
True, true.
But I've always had a passion for traveling and I just wanted to be away and have a bit of a reset. So I did move to Brazil, but I was working on a project out there, a social enterprise project. And that was helping entrepreneurs in the favela communities, helping to build their business and coaching them. And during this time, I allowed myself the space to just live life again. Like I was connecting with people, I was spending time on the beach, I was rediscovering my passions. I took a course in making shoes of all things, and I was like, oh, this is what's been missing. I realized that during my corporate life, I had given everything to that, and it was just my focus. I wasn't living life anymore, I was just existing. I was like, that's not okay. So
Mhm.
during this time, I was reevaluating what I wanted to do and decided to retrain as a coach. So I took an online diploma to be a health coach. And during this time, I started to reach out to my network. Who's a coach? Tell me more about coaching. And I was connected with someone who just certified as a breathing coach. So I connected with this person and I was like, hang on a second. You're telling me you teach people how to breathe for a living? What? Tell me more. So I go along to her first ever workshop. And it's a conscious, connected breathwork practice, which we'll talk a bit more about. And in this session, we're using circular breath exercise, sound, movement, acupressure, loads of things happening in the session. And I was a bit like, "Whoa, what's going on?" But I stayed with it, and at the end of the session, I connected with this deep sense of peace and stillness that I hadn't felt in so long. And I was like, "Wow, I can feel like this from breathing. Tell me more." So I kept going to her classes, and she was actually moving out to Brazil and running a seminar the same time I was out there because it was a mutual connection that had Brazil connection that had connected us. And so I attended this 6 day seminar that she was hosting, and it's basically breath work, 2 full sessions a day, teaching you about all the fun stuff, the meditation, everything involved. And it's a deep dive. So it was during this seminar, I still remember it so clearly. It was on the fourth day in the afternoon session. I had the most incredible breakthrough. So, as I'm practicing this breath work, I'm starting to release emotions during sessions. I don't even know why sometimes. Maybe I'm crying, maybe I'm laughing, but whatever is happening, I'm feeling better. And I'm starting to feel more like myself, which is what led me to go to the seminar. So, on the fourth day of the seminar, I had the most incredible breakthrough and release where I actually released a trauma from my childhood I'd been carrying in my body for almost 20 years. And I
Wow.
didn't know it was still there, right? And it's crazy because so when I was 16, my father passed away in an accident. It was a life-changing moment for us. And at the time, you deal with it in the best way you know how, and you have therapies and you deal with it in a very cognitive way, I found. So,
Mhm.
okay, this is what's happened, you deal with it, move on with life. And I didn't realize that I'd stored it away in a physical sense in my body. And that's what came out. Like I was sobbing uncontrollably. And I was like, I didn't
Wow.
realize that I'd been carrying that for that long. And at the end of the session, you have this period of integration. And I was just remembering my dad in really nice, fond ways I hadn't allowed me to myself to in a long time. And then all of a sudden, I'll share this because I think it might resonate with people. But all of a sudden, we're sitting on this park bench, and my dad turns to me and says, "This is the start of your spiritual journey." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh my God." I turned around to my facilitator and I was like, "Did I fall asleep?" Because I immediately wanted to dismiss that I'd had that experience. But she's like, "No, you didn't fall asleep." But for me, it was just so healing to be able to release that, what I'd carried. And it's almost like it opened my heart again to connect with
Wow.
myself and who I am. And it was in that moment I decided I have to share this. Everyone needs access to this breath work because I had no intention of being a teacher until that point. And for me, first of all, it was I wanted to share it with my family, with my siblings and my mum, and like, you have to try this, you have to try this. But it's just got bigger and bigger from there. So from that moment, I continued my training in Brazil, in Mexico, in the US, and the UK. And within 12 months, I was based back in the UK, fully certified, just teaching people how to breathe. And it's just evolved from there, which is just, it's incredible, really.
Wow. One thing I want to ask, that is an amazing story, and I'm so sorry to hear about your dad. That's awful, but how lovely that you found a channel to,
Mm.
deal with that, even 20 years later. That's just so
Yeah.
magical. Why, what you said the training took place in like Brazil and Mexico. Is it like a really big thing over there? And your idea was to come and launch that here as more, make it more of a thing here because it wasn't a big thing here, was it? Like you're the first breath coach I've met. And I know that other people do it, and wellness is such a thing now. Sound baths, people go to all these different kinds of things. But was your plan to sort of learn how they do it and then bring it here? Was that the whole thing?
hmm Yeah, I had no plan at all, Alex. So it was just like everyone needs to do this. Everyone needs to do this. But it's an international breath training school. So they're based in the US, the founders in the US, and they've been in operation for about 25 years at the time. And they just run this training across the world. And so I don't think it was more prolific out there as such, but I think that these techniques, like breath work, has been around for hundreds of years. You
Hmm.
know, these healing modalities, this wellness stuff, sound bowls, everything you've mentioned has been around forever, but we haven't really brought it into, I guess, our lives in such a way until the recent years. And what I found is when I returned to the UK and started teaching about breath work, the first thing people would say is it for people that have got breathing difficulties or, are not well and need to breathe? And I said, no, it's for absolutely everyone. And the time it really took off is COVID, lockdown, because here we have something that's actually attacking our respiratory system and our ability to breathe. And so it brought more attention to our breath and how we're breathing and how we're feeling. So people started to open up to that more. And I think since then, like people talk about that being a mental health pandemic. I think we're in the pandemic now, mental health pandemic now, post COVID, because, we're still dealing with the outcome of that. And I think we're all looking for ways to feel better, to
Yeah,
connect with ourselves. And so we traditionally, what we tend to do, I speak for myself as well, is when we need to feel better, we look externally for something to fix us or help us. Whereas now I think the focus is definitely more turning within and inward. What can we do within to support ourselves? How can we connect with ourselves? And that's why breath work has been something that's so powerful because everyone can do it. Anyone can do it. And it can help you in so many ways that it's just open for you to explore and it's accessible. So, that's what I'm seeing. And everyone's like, now it's becoming a lot more popular. I remember when I moved back, people were like, oh, breath work. I was like, just you wait. It'll be just like yoga was 10 years ago.
yeah,
Like no one would be doing yoga. Yoga's for hippies, but now it's in corporates. It's the same with breath work. It's happened, right? Everyone wants to do breath work, or it's starting to. We're still in that. But yeah, it's really exciting because I think it can benefit you in so many ways.
definitely.
So when you kind of had that like profound event and decided, did you kind of come back and obviously you've probably got this right, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get this out there? Did you get people like coming up with resistance? Because I'll be honest, when you talk about it in the first place, like I love it now and I've like
Mm,
experienced it. When you talk about breath work, it's almost like, well, I know how to breathe, thanks,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
why do you need to teach me how to breathe? Like, I didn't even know there was so many ways you could breathe and,
mm,
all
mm.
this sort of stuff. And it is so true. But like initially, and I know you said like sort of the COVID is kind of what took it off. But prior to that, did you come up against resistance with it?
Yes. Well, I don't know if it's resistance. I mean, people were curious, but they weren't ready to buy yet. It's like they wanted more information. It's like, what are you
Mhm.
talking about? It's like you want to teach me how to breathe, but exactly like you said, I'm breathing already. And
Yeah.
yeah, we all are. But the question is how well are we breathing? And that's what I ask people to think about. And we can do a little breath awareness exercise later, but it's fascinating that none of us breathe well. Everyone has a form of dysfunctional breathing, and studies have shown that we breathe to maybe a third of our full capacity. So we're not even breathing
Wow.
to half the capacity that we could or should. And that's in turn going to affect how we're feeling
Mhm.
and how we show up in the world. And it affects us on so many levels, but it's not the first thing we think of when we think of health and well-being. We might think if, we want to improve our health, we look at our diet, we look at our exercise, we look at our sleep, are we hydrated? We don't think about our breath until we're forced to, because,
Yeah.
it's happening all the time. So it's always a question of how well you're breathing. And I think it's one of those things, Debbie, like you can talk about it and talk about it, and people can be curious, but it's until you've actually tried it, that's when you get to experience it for yourself. And that's what I encourage people to do. And I'm not saying you have to book onto a 2 hour class and do it. I might sit for 5 minutes and focus on your breath and just notice how you feel. Like it can be for 1 minute to notice and pay attention to your breath and see how you feel. And once you start to do that on a regular basis, you'll then see the difference. And then you'll be a bit more curious, hopefully, as to what else you can do with it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. And it's interesting because I know that I've started looking, because I spoke to you, I reached out to you about the anxiety my youngest was going through, and that's when you introduced me to the school breath work.
Same for me. Me and Jessie had the conversation when Bonnie got
Oh,
diagnosed
okay.
about how she does breath work with kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a couple of those exercises, like with the whole shapes and things like that, I think are brilliant. And I have started using them with, because a lot of kids these days are struggling with anxiety and stress, which is quite scary. I've been a dance teacher for 25 years now, so I've seen a lot of children through that time. And I've got girls that are coming into the class that have been with us for like 7, 8 years who still are coming in crying and don't
Yeah.
want to leave their parents and
Yeah.
things like that. And we've started sitting down in our class and talking about like the anxiety and how you're struggling. And I've said to them, like, if we're like all up like this, we can't be calm. But like if we just let it out and we do this exercise where we breathe in deeply and then I just tell them to blow it all out. And I said, look, your shoulders go down. And the revelation on their faces, they're like, yeah, and I'm like, because you can't be stressed when you're breathing out. You can't, it just
Yeah.
doesn't work. So that's all from what I've kind of learned from meeting you and stuff like that. I've never thought of it in that way before. So I think it's been quite good to kind of share that with the kids that I'm teaching, as well as my own children. Although I will be honest, they do look at me, my children, think like, yeah, all right, mum, I know how to breathe. So, but they're teenagers, so they know
Mm.
best. So what can you do?
And
But you
I
never
thought
know
about,
what's going in. Sorry, Alex.
it's all right. Go on, you go.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say they might look at you like that, but you never know what's going in. The little seed has been planted.
Yeah, that's true.
Kids
That
are
is very
great at
true.
copying. If they're watching you, it might
Yeah.
filter in. So yeah.
I thought about you recently, Jessie. I'd done the dreaded school trip at the end of last term, and we went. I joined my daughter's class, and there's a little girl in her class that I didn't know until the day struggles a lot with anxiety. She's got a few other challenges, but on that day, she got particularly stressed out, and I could see her all pent up and closed up. And I thought about you and what you'd said to me about what you do with the children. I thought, okay, I know how to calm an adult down with breathing. I know how to calm myself down. I also kind of know how to calm my daughter down now, but this kid doesn't know me. She needs to buy into this a little bit. But I took her out of the session and we sat in a corridor and we done the fingers, in, up, out. We done the sort of hand breathing, and it really calmed her down. And I thought, I mean, I've tried it at home with Bonnie, but I think I try it at the point where she's past the point of no return.
Yeah.
So it's getting the breath in, isn't it, before they get to the point where they're not going to listen about breathing. They're too far gone. And my daughter does get very like that with her meltdowns. But I think if you catch them at a good time,
Yeah.
doing the right breath work will stop them getting to the point of no return, obviously. And I think I managed to do that with that little girl, and it really, really helped. The school promotes it. I know one of the teachers come out and said, "Are you doing some breathing?" I said, "Yeah, that's what we're doing." So it's talked about. I just think it's about how do we talk about it with children in a way that they can understand. So I guess that's what I wanted to come on to next with Jessie. Like, tell us about what you're doing in the schools, if possible, while we're talking about kids and kids' breath work. Like, how is that different to working with corporates and adults? And
Absolutely. Firstly, I love that you both have had this experience with not only your own children, but other children that you're working with and supporting. It's incredible because, like you've mentioned, unfortunately, children are growing up in a very different world to us and they are struggling with anxiety. And it still scares me to see how much from such young ages.
Hmm.
And so this is something so one of my breathwork colleagues, Amy Hartley, she founded the school Breathe program several years ago, and I've always partnered with her as one of the coaches recording sessions. And then it was only earlier, was it start of this year or end of last year, where I was invited to join as a co-director. So now I am a bit more involved. And what we do is we take breathwork into schools. And so we have a program where we can train either the teachers to deliver the programs, or we will go in as breath coaches and deliver the programs and share breathing exercises with the children that they can do that will support them in various situations. But it's not just about, there are breathing exercises where we get them to focus on their belly and slow their breathing down and do things like the hand breathing. But because we want to reach children across all ages, it's trying to get them engaged, like you said, if they're a teenager or if they're a bit younger. So we've got different breathing exercises that may be around breathing, with animals or hot chocolate breath, for example, or we've got different breathing exercises. There was an owl breath that someone shared the other day, just to get them to understand that if they can change the way that they're breathing, they can control how they're feeling. And it's getting them out of their heads and into their bellies, because that's the same as us. It's the same issue. We're thinking too much, right? And what you said, Debbie, about, letting their shoulders drop because it's working with the diaphragm. But if children don't necessarily understand that, we want them to breathe in their bellies, get them to slow their breath down. And if they've got something fun that they can connect with, be it a shape, be it with an animal, or something where they can count their breath, to get them out of their heads and into their bodies, that's what's going to help. So we've got a full spectrum of breathing exercises that we then share with the schools, and they roll them out week by week, or we train the teachers to do that. And we now have launched as well. We've got a program where we're training people to be breath coaches for children. So if anyone is interested, we've got a program where you can then be a certified breathwork coach for children and help,
I think every
support them.
school should
So
have that.
Yeah.
Every school needs
yeah,
one now.
I think so
Yeah.
too. I think so too. And this is what our mission is to get into more schools, because a lot of schools may not have funding available. So this is where it's great that now I'm doing more work with corporates. We're going to try and get corporates to maybe sponsor schools or sponsor
Oh,
teachers.
Nice.
fantastic.
That would be really great. So we want to encourage that, because I think, it's such an important life skill that we never get taught when we were that age. But
No.
imagine having access to something like that, and be it to help with exams, be it to help with, speaking up in class, be it to help with anything that children are experiencing, to have that as a skill now that you can then develop on and build on and strengthen. It's going to be there for life. And what's beautiful is like I see some breath coaches that have been teaching their children, including Amy, her daughter. She now shares it with other children. So,
Oh,
it's beautiful, isn't
that is
it?
lovely.
Like, yeah, she's like
Catching
this.
on, it's catching on. It's so important though, because we
Yeah.
don't think about kids needing to do breath work. Oh, they're kids, they're fine, they're playing, they're happy. They're not all happy. Me and Debs know that. We've
Yeah.
had some horrendous days with our daughters, haven't we?
Yeah.
And I just think that making that like a normal part of their day, no
Yeah.
one can see. If you can focus on your belly breathing, it's not always that obvious. They can do it in a way that other children might not notice. I just think, like you said, it's being aware of how they're breathing. And like what you said, Debs, about the shoulders dropping, like
Yeah.
how much better does it feel when you take a breath and your shoulders drop down? Like
Yeah.
that release.
Well, I think as well these days when you are doing a job which is working closely with children, it's like for me with the dance world, it's not about just teaching them how to dance these days. There's so much else that comes into it. And I know just from my experience as a dancer, there's that whole family feeling, and like the dance world has had such a profound impact on my life.
Mm.
But obviously within that, I think when you're working with children, this should be available. Like I think anyone who works has a business that is working with children needs to know this stuff, because you do kind of go in feeling like you're a little bit of a counselor,
Yeah,
but untrained. It's like
yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm so. Do you know what? I think I'm going to tap you up, Jessie. I'm quite like the idea of becoming a breath coach,
Yes,
spending my time
amazing.
breathing.
Well, it's just such an important skill. And it's because, children, they're learning how to regulate their emotions, they're learning how to process things. And if it can get too much, what happens to our breath is that we start to go into that fight or flight mode and our stress is
Yeah.
activated in our body. So our diaphragm does tighten, our breath gets quicker and shorter. And so we're breathing like this and we don't realize that that's just contributing to the stress effect in our body. So if we know that this is happening, and even as children, it's like, okay, let's just take a breath in and just the puffer fish breath, I have to say, is the most popular with some of the younger kids because they literally imagine they are a puffer fish and they blow up their cheeks really big and then blow out really slowly. And they don't realize that by extending their exhale and blowing out really slowly, that's actually activating their parasympathetic nervous system, which is their body's rest and digest response. So they're actually starting to calm themselves down by extending their exhale. So it's quite fun to be able to introduce it to children in different ways that they might remember. So yeah, that's a great one if anyone's listening and wants to try it with
Lovely,
the
that's
kids. But
brilliant. And
yeah.
breath work can be applied to so many things. So I was thinking when I met you, I was like, I've never done breath work before. I totally have. I'd done hypnobirthing with both of my
Okay.
pregnancies. But let me tell you, I didn't use it. It went out the window the first time, as did the birthing plan, as did everything else. And that was a horrific labour. I mean, it went a bit wrong, but that was a really traumatic labour. Round two with my son, I was in this zone because I was breathing. So I hadn't done the hypnobirth the second time round. I hadn't been to any classes, but I remembered it from the first time. And I've got videos of me like proper hypnobirth and breathing, and I don't remember feeling a great deal of pain. Now, don't get me wrong, it was labour. There was pain. But the midwife came in at one point and she said to me, "You are totally in a zone. I'm going to just leave you to it." And my husband was like, "She's just breathing constantly, like really like dramatic breathing." It's like
Yeah.
I'm trying to take control. And I sounds really silly, but I breathed that baby out. Like I got in the pool, one push, because I was doing this breathing, I was so in control of it. I literally pulled him out of the water and put him on my chest. And that
Wow.
did not happen with the first one. And I put it down, Jessie, to my breathing because I was really in control and I got a good rhythm going and I was breathing through those contractions in a way that, yes, of course they were hurting, but it's mind over matter and I could feel like I was in control of them. So I have done it.
That is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And that's
Wow.
it is not just it is mind over matter. The mind is really powerful, but with the breathing, there's a physiological response that's happening as well. You're allowing your body to relax, you're allowing your body to receive that oxygen in, the flow of the oxygen into
Hmm.
your cells that's circulating. It's allowing you to be in that state of calm that's going to help you to process things. And, of course, like you said, you're feeling the pain, but you're allowing it to pass through and moving through you. That's
Yeah,
just it supports you in so many ways. I love that, Alex. Thank you for
yeah.
sharing.
I just wish I would have done it the first time round because then maybe that one wouldn't have been so horrific. But yeah, no, I say to every woman who's pregnant, oh, I would recommend a water birth and just do your breathing. And I think when you say, oh, just do your breathing, people imagine in labour, you're like, like panting. Yes, there's a point where you've got to pant, but it's that deep belly breathing
Yeah.
and the long exhale that gets that pain. It's like it goes through your body and out again. It's the
Yeah.
only way I can describe it.
Yeah, but that's what's happening, Alex.
Yeah,
That's amazing. And
yeah.
just, I wanted to touch on that as well, like you said, because the first one may not have been the same. And, if anyone else has had a traumatic birth experience, the breath work, the conscious connected breath work they do that's more integrative can help you to integrate that trauma as well. Because during this seminar week, we do have a specific session that's around birth trauma because we can integrate that experience as well. Because we hold on to these things in our body in
Mm-hmm.
such an unconscious way
Mm-hmm.
that it can then filter unconsciously into our new experience. So it's so wonderful to hear that the second time you've let that go because you had such a beautiful experience with your breath. You
Yeah.
haven't carried on the trauma from the first one to the second.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool.
You, Debs, have you done any breath work? Well, you have been now. Did you use breath work when you were in labour?
No, I was terrible at it with Amber, and everyone kept saying to me, "You need to breathe," and I just didn't, which is probably why it all went horrendous. Emily, I can't really remember because she came so blimming quick. I don't think
Oh,
any of us had any
Mm.
chance to breathe at all. So, Yeah, probably not. I'll be honest, like all the hypnobirthing back then, I was a bit like, this is a bit woo-woo, a bit witchcraft. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I wasn't really, I think for me, since kind of taking the leap of faith and setting up my own business, that's where I've kind of opened up to more of this sort of stuff, like this sort of manifestation and those sort of self-help books. Like Andy sort of says to me, my husband, he's like, "What are you reading another one for?" You know, and it's like, well, yeah, but I do believe in it now. Whereas
Mm.
before, I was a bit like, manifesting what? I don't think so. And, breathing like, yeah, whatever. I don't think so. So, yeah, it is opening yourself up to these new experiences
Yeah.
to introduce them. And what I wanted to ask you, Jessie, because I've only ever done like the brief sessions with you, but
Hmm.
am I right in saying that there's like, because for me, you sort of talk a bit like the preconceived idea of yoga and meditation. For me, this is like literally, oh, it's all calming and we're going to have a nice little sleep and we're all going to feel. But is there different ways to kind of bring out the different emotions? So, like, if you want to be energized, there's a way to do that. If you want to calm yourself down, or perhaps you are having sleep issues, there's a way to do that. If, do you see
Hmm.
where I'm going with it? Is it like different techniques, so to speak?
For different
A
results. Yeah.
100%, 100%. And that's what I share. Like, so on the more functional breathing side of things, if you want to feel different things throughout the day, there's different breathing exercises you can do. So there are breathing exercises you can do to help you feel a bit more focused and have a bit more clarity. So,
I need
that's
as
great if you're
well.
trying to get things done and you're feeling distracted. That's a great one to practice. And then, if you can't switch off at the end of the day, or you're having trouble sleeping, or you wake up in the night and can't go back to sleep, there's another breathing exercise that will help that. And yes, there is energizing breath work to do when you are needing that energy boost and you're like, I don't want to have another coffee. That's enough. You can do a breathing exercise to give you that energy boost. And it's about knowing how to work with your breath. So basically, every inhale is sympathetic, which activates your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight. Every exhale is parasympathetic, which is the relaxing rest and digest. So as we're breathing in and out all day long, it's kind of keeping us going on, it's like our on off, it keeps us balanced, keeps us functioning. So if, for example, we want to have a bit more energy, we can work with increasing the inhale. And that's going to give us a bit of an energy boost and give us that it's going to increase our stress response in our body. That's going to make us feel something different. And so this is why when I talk about when we have a stress response in our body, it doesn't always have to be negative because sometimes we do need that adrenaline, that stress response in our body to get stuff done, and I always use the example of running for the bus. You've run for the bus, but you've expended that energy, you've used it. It's only when we sit maybe in a stationary position when we're having that response, and that response is triggered by maybe a thought or a feeling, or an email or something, and then we're stationary having that kind of stress response in our body, that's when we can start to feel the negative effect because that's causing the buildup of adrenaline and cortisol and increasing blood pressure in our body, but it's not being expended. So when we have a stress response in our body's signaling that we're in danger. And so all of our energy is going to protect our vital organs, and we don't think clearly, we don't have that focus and clarity. And so that's when we start to feel the panic and the anxiety kicks in. Whereas if we can be aware of what's going on and we're in that state and our breath is in our chest and our shoulders are up, if we can start to engage our diaphragm and breathe slower and extend our exhale, we can counter that immediately to feel better, to feel calmer. And so it's knowing how and when to work with the breath in those ways. And then the technique that I'm trained in, the conscious connected breath work, that's where we deep dive into the juicy stuff. So that's when we can start to breathe in a circular way
Mm.
to restore our breath to its most natural breathing pattern. And we use sound and we use movement to release all the pockets of tension we've stored in our body. And that's where we may have some emotional release. So when I talk about in the beginning, when I first started doing breath work, I was maybe having emotional releases. I was crying and I'm like, I don't know why I'm crying, but it feels good. And letting it all out. It's because we hold so much in with
Hmm.
our breath on a daily basis in such an unconscious way because maybe we don't have time to feel it or we don't have the space or we don't want to show our emotions in front of someone. So we hold it in. And that's also restricting how we breathe. So if we can consciously work with our breath to open it up, we can release that tension and stuff we're carrying to feel more open, to feel clearer, to feel lighter and more focused.
And
Agreed.
that's really interesting what you say about the emotions, because like crying is just a natural part of that emotion, but yet
Natural part of my day, really.
we are kind of trained to think that crying's a weakness. Like, how many times have you gone, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to cry, no, no, I'm not going to cry, I'm going to keep it all in. And actually, having a good cry,
Yeah.
sometimes that's what you need to do, just to just, and I know afterwards when I've had a proper, afterwards, I'm just
You
like,
feel lighter.
I mean, you feel exhausted, I'll give you that, but you do kind of think, yeah, I just got that out of me. So that whole breath thing kind of comes all within that, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because your breath is helping you to release that. Because when you think about when you hold it in, you might literally hold
Yeah.
it in with your
Yeah.
breath and
Yeah,
swallow it in, right? And
Sobbing,
that,
isn't it? When you're sobbing and you're like
yeah,
that, it's not good, is it? It's gonna prolong it because the breathing isn't
yeah,
supporting it. Yeah.
but it's not just the sobbing, it's when you're stopping yourself from sobbing and
Yeah.
you're holding it in with your breath. So when you can breathe into it, and then continue to cry as much as you need to, and then breathe and let it flow. If you can do that, you're allowing it to release from your body. And exactly like you said, Alex, you'll feel lighter because we don't need to carry that stuff anymore because we have been conditioned not to cry, like not maybe show our feelings. And, it's a sign of vulnerability or whatever it might be. We're told as children as well, don't cry, don't laugh, don't say that.
yeah,
Yeah.
We do this. So it's from a lifetime, maybe.
And this one thing I wanted to touch on, we've had a couple of male guests on this season
yeah,
so far. Obviously, we're heavily focused around, mental health
yeah.
and general wellness. How do men respond to it, Jessie, that you work with in comparison to women? Because men are very conditioned to not let emotion out, as we know. How do men respond to it?
So it's really interesting because when I've at one point my one-to-one clients were 50% men. And
Oh,
yeah, I was like really happy at the time as well because I was like, yes, men need to breathe too. But then the people that are coming to see me for one-to-one sessions already have a level of openness towards this. I
yes,
guess in answer to your question, I guess when I'm maybe doing corporate sessions or bigger group sessions and experiencing breath work, they are a bit more like, okay, let's see what this is about and a
Mm,
bit more protective of their emotions. But when they've experienced it, the feedback I've always had is that surprised me. I didn't expect to feel that. And they've really enjoyed it. And actually, there's people out there like Wim Hof, who have drawn a lot of men to breathwork practice because he is this, this big crazy guy that's showing, how resilient your body can be with breathwork. And he's drawn a lot of men to the practice to show the power of breath and how it can help you in a physical sense, not just the emotional sense. And, once you've started it, once you've experienced it, you want to explore more.
mm,
So I do believe more and more men are open to experiencing this, but there is a level of, that protection and allowing themselves to be vulnerable because
yeah.
men don't cry, boys don't cry. They've had that their whole lives as well. And it's,
yeah.
no, you can. You shouldn't have to carry the weight on your shoulders. It's like
Mm.
you're allowed to feel as well. So I do feel like there's a real shift happening at the moment, which is incredible to see.
I also wonder, just kind of going from my own experiences with Andy, with the PTSD, whether, I mean, obviously I get the funding and side of it, but I think this would be invaluable within our emergency services because the
God, yeah.
trauma and the stuff that they see and that they have to hold on to, like the years of stuff that Andy has got to unpick is phenomenal. Um, so kind of, I would have to kind of get him over that. Yeah, all right, Debbie's breathing. I know that because he is that sort of he is that typical guy. But I do wonder actually how much of that would really help him with what he
100%.
struggles with. And certainly, like we've literally just come out of a horrendous relapse,
Yeah.
the worst relapse we've had since he was diagnosed, actually, to the
Oh,
point where I was thinking, oh my God, we're actually going back to that
Yeah.
real dark days. So Yeah, it's kind of like it's another tool in their box that they can drag out to help them when they are going through those things. So have you worked with people like that? Have you sort of dealt with people with that serious trauma?
Yeah, yeah, I have. And actually, when you talk about, paramedics, I was working with the NHS solely during lockdown, offering free sessions through a charity. So anyone that was working for the NHS would get free breathwork sessions with me because, like you said, the things that they experience and the things that they see, what support do they get? Because it's a lot. And I do get people that come to see me with all levels of trauma. Um, and some people don't even realize that they're carrying it, and some people come with me knowing what it is. But trauma is so difficult to categorize because you can have, so many levels of it. There's big T trauma, small T trauma, but it's how it's manifesting for you because that's
Yeah,
your reality. So we have to meet you where you are and start from there.
yeah,
And we just see where you're at and we take it one breath at a time, literally, to get you moving through it and processing what needs to happen. But it is really powerful and it can support you. The thing is, I always say about my clients is they're absolute warriors because it's not easy work. Like, it's not me. I'm the facilitator. It's you. You have to breathe. You have to feel. You have to do the work. Like, I'm just going to hold the space and show you what to do and help you get there. But you have to actually show up for yourself. And so that's why you have to be committed
yeah,
to that. And that's why I say absolutely everyone that I work with, you're an absolute warrior because you're showing up for yourself. You're doing the work. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's called breath work. You got to
yeah.
show up. You got to do it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, it's like
definitely.
anything, isn't it? It's like if you wanna be an Olympic athlete, you can't just rock up on the day of the competition and think you're going to win gold. There's been a lifetime of training, so I guess it's the same sort of thing, really. You've got to kind of,
100%.
there's going to take a period of time of practicing it. And would you say that, like, obviously, you've been doing this now 10 years, did you say? This
Yeah,
is,
it'll be 9 years. Yeah, 10 years ago since I left corporate. 9 years I've been doing this. Yeah.
and are you still learning?
Always. Always. If you think you've learned everything, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah, because there's always an evolution of self, of life, of people, things change, people change. And your breath, like, how much do we actually know about anything? Like, there's always more to learn, I think. And you talk about different ways we can work with a breath. Yes, but someone's going to find another way to work with it, or you might find someone that responds in a different way, or it might work in a different environment. So now, obviously, I'm doing school breathe work and working with children, and I've breathed babies before as well. It's amazing. It's just beautiful. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
How do you
I
do
think
that with babies?
it's very special, very special. So during my breathwork training, we were told that we can be breathe babies because sometimes babies have their own trauma. If they have
Yeah.
difficulty through birth or whatever it is. So the baby sits on your belly with their back against your belly, and you breathe and sync your breath with theirs, and then we
Oh,
facilitate on their belly as
That's
well.
cute.
that's,
It's
yeah.
so beautiful. I mean, I've done it a few times with my friend's baby, but my teacher, she told me an experience she had with a baby who wasn't settling, was always crying. And when she did a breath session with this baby, the baby started just screaming and pulling at its arms like this and crying and crying. And the baby had been in ICU for a period of time after being born and had all these tubes and things
Oh,
in it. And so it was releasing all the trauma of that. And after this
oh,
breath session, the baby was then sleeping properly and like had let
oh,
go of all that
wow.
trauma. I'm like, that's incredible.
That is,
So
yeah.
it's
Wish I'd known
just, yeah.
that.
Well, it's just amazing, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
um, yeah, we have to get their permission as well. It's so interesting because sometimes the babies won't want to breathe. You'll know if they won't want to. They won't. No, not for me. But
But
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
really special.
yeah, and if you think about it, even if you take what I would a normal birth, whatever that is, but one that's kind of not been like yours effectively wasn't the
Mm,
second time round was quite straightforward, there was no
mm.
complications. It's still a bloody traumatic experience,
God,
isn't it?
yeah.
There's a reason why we don't remember what it was like to go through. So I guess like just having that, even for mums, just having that technique to kind of know, because it's so stressful at that time, isn't it? When you've got this crying,
Yeah.
screaming baby and you just don't know what to do. you're like this, if you could just sit and with that baby and both of you calm down and do that breathing, it would be interesting. I wish I could almost go back and see how that would have worked
Yeah.
with mine, and would that have done anything, like would that have made any changes and stuff. So definitely that sounds amazing.
I could have done with you at the weekend, Jessie. My dog's just given birth to a litter of six puppies,
Oh,
and her breathing. I could have
oh,
really done with you at the weekend with her breathing. My God.
6 puppies.
Well,
Oh my
yeah, she
goodness.
had. Yeah, on Monday morning we had them. She had seven, but we lost one unfortunately. But because
Oh.
she was so exhausted and she wasn't breathing properly, funny enough, and she wasn't able to push. So had she have been a human, we probably could have got through that. But yeah, emergency C-section to get the last couple out. So.
Well,
Oh.
I was just thinking, could you have the puppies on your tummy and sit there, if they are getting a little bit, you could sit there and see if it works.
Well, actually, you say that. Yesterday or the day before, we had to take her to the vet to check her stitches. So the puppies were left on their own for the first time with me, but without her mum,
Yeah.
without their mum. One of them was screaming. She wasn't hungry because I could have given her formula, but she was just so unsettled. I put her on my heart and I'd done like a gentle sway and I did do breathing and I think my heartbeat settled her and she fell asleep on me in a blanket. And then this puppy can sit at my hand. She's the smallest one. And then the dog got home from the vet and she two-footed me onto the sofa. She pushed me back. She was like, "You've got hold of one of my children." And I was like, "Oh, it's okay." I was trying to like get the puppy back in time before the dog saw me and I was like, busted. She's caught me having a cuddle with her puppy. So I think it would work with animals.
Yeah.
It really would.
Animals, yeah, they're so intuitive as well. And it's like you said, holding them to your heart. It's
Yeah,
that syncing of the heartbeat as well, the coherence. So
yeah,
it's really beautiful. Oh, bless you. See, and you did that intuitively as well, Alex. See, you knew what she needed.
yeah, yeah.
So
Oh,
what, obviously we've asked you if you would actually do a bit of a session with us. So we'll get on to that in a minute. But what's kind of like what's next for you? Like where do you take this? How is this gonna evolve and develop?
oh, well, there's so many things. I think I'm really excited with where Breathwork's going. And I think at the moment, I am enjoying working a lot with corporates, and reaching people on that scale because that's where I came from. And I used to call myself a corporate escapee, but I stopped doing that because I don't believe you have to escape corporate. I think it's about being able to thrive in that environment.
Hmm.
So if I was to be back in corporate now, it'd be a very different story based on what I know. So I'm really enjoying sharing this with people in those environments, but not just people that work in corporates, but anyone that may feel that, they're overwhelmed with life or feeling stressed at times because
And there's a
your
lot of
breath
that.
is,
There's a lot of that at the minute.
yeah, there really is. Like have a dream that breathwork becomes a household practice. Just like, you got Joe Wicks streaming into your living room.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
having someone to do breath work, just knowing that you've got that, and families breathe together, and having a bit of space every day to breathe. But that's the bigger dream and the vision. But for now, I'm really enjoying working with the corporates and the schools, and entrepreneurs as well. So this is where I'm focused for now, and we'll see where it grows. There is a book on the horizon as well. Let's see once I commit to
Oh,
getting it finished.
Oh,
Yeah.
Debbie's ears have just picked up. She obsessed, aren't you, with this idea of writing your book? I think you
yeah.
just need to start it
You
now.
do,
Every time
yeah.
someone talks
I
about
do,
it, you
yeah.
light up inside.
I do need to. Well, we had your friend on, didn't we, who self-published his book
Yeah,
through Amazon. So yeah,
it can be
it
done.
can be
It
done.
can be done. I know people that have done it too, Debbie. Maybe we should be accountable to each other.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I will definitely be buying your book on breathwork, most definitely. You've already got a sale tick.
Oh, I love.
I'm just
Right, there you go.
thinking.
That's need to get it finished. Need to get it finished. But yeah.
So we're just coming up to midday. Not that it matters because obviously people are going to be listening to this any time of day. What would you suggest for like for Debs and I? I don't know what you've done this morning, Debs. I've actually done some work.
Have you?
And I've cuddled the puppies and I've weighed them. I've been very busy. But I'm just thinking, say people are coming up to like the middle of the day, what would you suggest as an ideal kind of breathwork session to do. You've had a bit of a busy morning, maybe you need to energize yourself for the afternoon. What should we do about that?
Yeah. So, okay. So you'd like to energize for the afternoon because I was leaning towards more of a balancing exercise
Oh, okay.
because,
Well, look, we'll take your lead. You're the expert. I was just thinking that I always need a bit of invigoration of energy at this point, but maybe that's more around 2 o'clock. So yeah, balancing sounds good.
Yeah, we all need balance in our
yeah,
We
lives.
definitely do.
the reason I say that as well is because if we are coming up to around lunchtime, it's really good to make sure that your body is in a state of calm and you've activated your rest and digest before you have your lunch, because
Oh,
then that's going to be received so much better in your body and it's going to aid your digestion as well.
Wow.
So that's why I think, and also if you've had a busy morning and you've got stuff in your head or what's going on, it's a nice way to just come back into balance, focus, have your lunch, and get reset for the afternoon. How's that
that
sound?
sounds
That sounds
amazing.
amazing.
So
And
we
can
are,
I just quickly ask a
yes,
question
of
before we
course you
start?
can.
Is that why when sometimes I'm busy, 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 or I've shoved my lunch down, I've not been balanced before my lunch, and that's why it feels like it gets stuck and it can't go down? Is that why? It's not
Yeah.
just an esophagus thing, is it? Surely. It's got to be like a
Yeah.
breathwork thing, surely, like relaxation and this because of state that you're in when you're about to eat, you need to be balanced, don't you?
Yeah. So I would say if you are, that's why it's not great to eat on the go or eat at a desk. And, it's good to be more mindful when you're eating. But if you are having a busy moment and you're just trying to get a bit of food in quickly, just pause and take maybe 5 deep breaths before you eat, because that's still going to help. Like just 5 deep breaths in and out before you eat something, just to relax your nervous system a little bit to help you just like digest your food a bit better. So, yeah, you're spot on. That's probably what it is. It could be.
Sounds good. Okay, get us balanced,
We are
please. We're
we are
ready.
in your
All right,
hands,
my loves.
Jessie.
Okay, right. Just sit comfortably as you are. And if you can get nice and comfortable, you can uncross your legs, keep your feet firmly on the ground. And if you want to sit back, your back is nice and supported. And if you feel comfortable, you can close down your eyes.
Oh, I'll
So
go to
just,
sleep, Jessie. Be careful.
I'll bring you back, don't worry. So just close down your eyes and just take a moment to allow yourself just to arrive into the space, get really comfortable, feel the seat beneath you supporting you fully, and take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Just sigh it out and let it go. And now just take a moment to just let your body relax a little bit more. So just drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, relax your back, relax your arms, and feel your feet on the ground. And as we go through this breathing exercise, just let your body do what it needs to. Sometimes you may want to yawn or adjust or do whatever you need to. Just listen to your body and allow it to unwind. And we're going to do a nice, gentle breathing exercise where we're going to breathe in and out through the nose for an equal count. So we're going to breathe in for 4 and out for 4. And as we breathe, I'm going to invite you just to breathe as deep as you can into your lower belly. So if you feel comfortable, you can always place your hands on your lower abdomen or just below the belly button to help encourage that breath. So we're going to start together by gently exhaling, then breathe in through the nose, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through the nose, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in through the nose, 2, 3, 4. And out through the nose, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in, just continue on your own count for a few rounds. And notice how it feels as you breathe. Just allow yourself to soften a little more on every exhale. If you notice that your shoulders are moving at all, just allow them to relax. Relax your back even further and just focus on the breath. As you inhale, feel the expansion deep into your belly. And as you exhale, feel the body soften and let go. Know that all I have to do in this moment is to breathe and be aware of how it feels. If you notice any tightness or any restriction, that's okay. Just allow it to be there for now and slowly soften into it a little more with every breath. And then when you're ready on your next inhale, just breathing in as deep as you can for your next inhale, all the way in, all the way to the top, and just pause at the top for a moment, pause for a moment, and let it go with a sigh. And we'll do that one more
Oh,
time.
sorry, I was
Nice
banging the
deep
room.
breath in, all the way in to the top. And just hold at the top for a moment. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Squeeze your fingers, squeeze your toes, squeeze your nose, squeeze everything. And let it go with a big sigh. And just whenever you feel ready, just start to bring some awareness back. Just wriggle your fingers, wriggle your toes, maybe roll your shoulders back, have a little wriggle in your seat, do whatever you need to do.
I feel like you went
Gently.
into full hypnosis then,
I
yes.
love it. I
It's
do. I
good. It's
love
good.
it.
It's really good. And do you know what I found really interesting? You don't realize what parts of your body you're tensing until you start untensing them. So even when you think you're relaxed, my thighs were like tight against the chair.
Yeah.
And then
Mm,
after that, my shoulders were sort of forward. And it was each breath I was letting a little bit more
Yeah.
go.
And
Yeah.
you're just in
see,
that, like you say, just in that moment. I wasn't thinking about anything other than listening to you and
Yeah.
concentrating on what you were telling me to do. That was it. I wasn't, there was nothing else going on.
Yeah. I could tell.
amazing, amazing. And that was just a few minutes. So I was conscious of the
Yeah.
time. I don't want to go on too long, but I think if you can just pause and do that for a few minutes, and you can do it throughout the day, you can even just do that when you're making your morning coffee or if you're not queuing for your coffee or whatever. And, any point throughout the day, just take a few moments to reset and find your balance. It's like a recalibration and then,
Yeah.
carry on. So thank you for doing that with me.
That
No,
was
thank you.
amazing.
So before we sign off, Jessie, if people want to work with you, want to get more information, how can they get hold of you?
Yeah, you can drop me a message. My website is jessielote.com. You can reach me on all the socials. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram. My Facebook is there, even though it's a new account I had to create. I lost it a few years ago, imagine. Never mind.
Oh,
But I'm on all the all the usual socials. Reach out. And if you've got any questions or want to know any more information, I'm so open. So just drop me a message. I've got online programs you can try. I've got one-to-one sessions you can book in, and I will be having more in-person workshops as well if you're curious. So just
love
reach out
that.
and let's connect.
That's it. Well, we will drop the links to
We
your
will.
socials
We
in
will.
our description as well. So,
Hmm.
yeah, so thank you, Jessie, for joining us.
I really
I
enjoyed
really,
that.
really
And
enjoyed
I'm ready
that.
for I'm so balanced now.
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
do.
ready for my lunch.
Yeah,
I feel really good.
yeah, I do.
You?
Yeah, I
You look like
do.
you go for a sleep.
Well, always.
Oh,
But yeah, so thank you so much for joining us.
That was
thank you for
amazing,
having me.
Jessie. Thank you for your time, honestly. I hope
Oh,
someone can take something from this, and I'm sure they will.
yeah,
I absolutely loved it. You're both amazing. Thank you again for having
thank
me.
you. So that leaves us to now sign off
Go
and
on.
say we are heartful, mind heavy,
North,
and south unfiltered.
unfiltered.